Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be ranking my top 10 best NHL draft classes of the last decade from 2011 to 2020. Now the last 10 years of NHL drafts, including 2020, have been super interesting. Now obviously you have your weaker drafts, but there's been some amazing drafts filled with star talent that will dominate the NHL for years to come. So which draft years do I think are the best of the last 10 years, and how do I rank them from 10 to 1? Watch till the end for all my picks and opinions, and of course hit that subscribe button if you're new. Now for today's video, I wanted to include 2020 because we know how good that draft is. Even though the draft hasn't actually happened, we know the talents of guys like Alexis Lafreniere, Tim Stützle, Quinton Byfield, and all the great prospects in that draft, so I felt it was deserving to include them and have it 2011 for the 2020 NHL draft. But we're going to start out with the top 10, and coming in at number 10, in my opinion, the weakest draft of the bunch, clearly, is the 2012 NHL Draft. This one was hosted in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and as you can see by the speech bubble today, it was not all that great. Now, you still have some great talent. At the top of the scoring, you have Filip Forsberg, Galchenyuk, Karavainen, Hertl, and Morgan Wylie, and there's some great other options too. Colton Parayko, Matt Dumba, Tom Wilson, Hampus Lindholm, Nail Yakupov, also doing his thing in the KHL. But when it comes to top-tier talent, especially in the top 10, there just wasn't too much. But the goaltending is a little bit of a savior there. The one saving grace for this draft, in my opinion, is the goaltending, and it was fairly strong. You have Andrei Vasilevskiy in the first round, then Freddie Anderson, Connor Hellebuck, Matt Murray, and solid NHL options like Linus Ullmark and Jonas Korpisalo. When it comes to goaltending, it was not bad whatsoever. The rest of the draft, though, was not all that great. But now coming in at number 9, and at number 9, I have the 2013 NHL Draft. Now, compared to 2012, it was still pretty good, but in terms of other years, both in the past and in the future, it still was not all that great. Now, you still had some superstar talent for sure. In the top 5 scoring, Nathan MacKinnon led the way of 495 points, Sean Monahan, Alexander Barkov, Elias Lindholm, and Bo Horvat, but there was a lot of good defensive options in this draft too. Seth Jones, you also have guys on the bottom like Josh Morrissey, Ryan Pulock, Brett Pesce, Shea Theodore, and Darnell Nurse. Overall, it was a very solid defensive draft, and there still was some good other forward options like Jake Gensel, Anthony Mantha, and Max Domi. But in the end, the amount of superstar talent just was not quite there. Still some good players, but on the level of other drafts, not quite as much. The goaltending also was a lot weaker than 2012. You still had a couple of good options like Tristan Jarry and UC Saros, who both had great years last year, but at the same time, just not up to the level, especially what the 2014 draft ended up being. And now moving on to my 7th pick, and coming at number 7, I have the 2017 NHL Draft. Now, obviously with this draft, there are still a lot of prospects that are developing, but from the way it looks like right now, it's looking like one of the more weaker drafts of the past 10 years. Now, we all pretty much knew that going into that draft, that it wasn't going to be up to this amazing level, and although there were some superstars to come out of it, it just wasn't up to the level of some other drafts, especially when you have 2018, the year after it. But in 2017, you have Elias Pettersson, Nico Hischier, Robert Thomas, Miro Heiskanen, and Nolan Patrick leading the scoring. You have also outside of that, Cale Makar, Philip Hedl, Nick Suzuki, Martin Necas, and then you also have Kailer Yamamoto, Henry Okaharju, and then you got some guys also still developing like Drake Bafferson, Cody Glass, Morgan Frost, Casey Middlestat, that are also very, very solid. And on the goaltending side, it actually was pretty good too. Jake Ottinger, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and Caden Primo in the 7th round. Although it wasn't an amazing draft, it still was pretty good, and Elias Pettersson definitely brings it up a notch. And now getting into number 7, my 7th best draft class of the last 10 years, I have the 2011 NHL Draft, the earliest draft that is in this top 10. Now the 2011 draft, even though it is lower in this list, was still very, very good, and from the star power, it was obviously evident. Now you have Nikita Kucherov leading the way with 544 points, then the top 5 in scoring goes Gabriel Landeskog, Johnny Gaudreau, Mark Scheifele, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Not bad whatsoever. Then you have some great other star power guys like Jonathan Huberdeau, Sean Couturier, Mika Zibanejad, who's pretty good by the way. You have Brandon Saad, Andre Palat, JT Miller, Dougie Hamilton, Vincent Trocheck, Rickard Rakell, William Karlsson, Philip Deneau. Not bad whatsoever, and it definitely is more of a top-end draft class where you have the stars and not much else, but it still was pretty good. But the goaltending style was also not amazing compared to other years. Somehow the 2012 draft was just amazing when it came to goaltenders, nothing else. But in 2013, you did have Jordan Binnington, who obviously won the Cup with the Blues, and John Gibson, who's one of the better goaltenders in the NHL right now. And now we're getting into the more quality drafts here, and coming at number 6, speaking of star power by the way in drafts, I now have the 2016 NHL Draft. Now to me, this is a draft that above any other is filled with stars, but not much else, and you'll see that throughout. But the top 5 scorers go Auston Matthews, Patrick Laine, Matthew Tkachuk, Alex DeBrincat, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Not bad whatsoever. Then after that, you have Clayton Keller, Mikhail Sergachev, Charlie McAvoy, Samuel Girard, Jacob Chicherin, and you also have great defensive options like Adam Fox, Philip Hronek, Victor Mete, Dante Fabro. It really was a very solid defensive draft. Now in goaltending, you have Carter Hart, and nothing else, pretty much. There are some other goaltenders like Tyler Wall and Joseph Woll and some other solid guys, but Carter Hart is really the only one to make an NHL impact thus far, which is still respectable. But in terms of the star power, it is definitely there, and you got guys in the defensive end like Adam Fox, Mikhail Sergachev, who are absolute studs. And even though the 2016 draft didn't have much depth, in my opinion, the star power did make up for it, and Auston Matthews is a Leaf, which is pretty much all that's important right now. But now getting us inside the top 5, and coming at number 5, I have the 2019 NHL Draft. Now, of course, we are still only a year out from this draft, so it is way too early to call. But this draft, to me, is definitely one of the more underrated ones of the last decade, and I think will definitely stand the test of time. Now you have Jack Hughes, Capo Caco, Kirby Duck, Bo Bynum, and Alex Turcotte as the top 5 picks, but this draft is really most well known for, in my opinion, because of the depth. And there was so many great things to have. You have friggin' Robertson going in the second round. Nicholas Robertson, who has scored like 200,000 goals in the OHL last year. He went in the second round, and the Leafs were able to get him. That just shows how good of a solid draft this was. And I don't think 2019 is going to blow you away, but I think in a matter of time, in a couple of years at least, I think it will be looked at as one of the better ones of the last decade. The top end talent will be there, and in my opinion, the depth will come from all different rounds. There were a lot of different steals in this draft, and I think that will showcase itself in the next few years. But now coming in at number 4, my 4th best draft class of the past decade. Coming in number 4, I have the 2018 NHL Draft in Dallas, Texas, the one I was able to attend. Now, this draft to me is one of the best of the last 10 years, and although, again, we are still 2 years out and it is too early to call, this is a draft that is slowly developing, I think, into one of the better ones, especially. Now, right now, when it comes to the top 5 scoring so far, Andrei Svechnikov leads the pack with 98 points. Then you have Brady Tkachuk, Rasmus Dahlin, Quinn Hughes, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi. But you also have so many other options that have yet to make their NHL debut so far, and I think that will come in the next couple of years. And obviously I'm biased as a guy who attended that draft, but it was just such an amazing experience. And I think when it comes to this class at least, it's a draft that is very, very solid, and the goaltending is good also. You have some great options like Lucas Dostal, also some guys like Justus Andin who are very, very good, and I think in just all areas in terms of the star power and the depth, 2018 delivers, and I think it will showcase itself as that kind of potential, as that kind of draft as we see in the next couple of years. Hopefully. Now coming in at number 3, my 3rd best draft class of the past 10 seasons, I have the 2014 NHL Draft. This draft does not get mentioned all that much when you talk about the best drafts of the past decade, and it's not really its own fault because obviously after that you had the McDavid draft, and that was absolutely amazing, but 2014 is still very, very solid in both the big high-end talent and some great draft depth too. Now when it comes to the top 5 scoring, you have Leon Draisaitl leading the pack with 422 points. You also have David Pastrnak, Dylan Larkin, Braden Point, and Nikolai Ehlers. Not bad whatsoever. whatsoever. Then you have William Nylander, Victor Arvidsson, Aaron Ekblad, Kevin Fiala, Nick Schmaltz, Jacob Verana, Jared McCann, Christian Dvorak, Alex Tuck, Tony DeAngelo, who's great this year, Kasperi Kapanen, Andre Kasha. There's some great depth there too, and the goaltending also is very good. As I mentioned in my Igor Shesterkin video about a week ago, you obviously have Shesterkin there, but you have some great other options like Thatcher, Demko too, that definitely hold their own, and Elvis Merzlikins, who was great in the NHL this year. To me, 2014 is seriously underrated, and just Leon Draisaitl and David Pastrnak alone makes this draft into one of the better ones we've seen. And now getting into the top two, we are between two different draft classes here today, the 2015 NHL Draft and the 2020 NHL Draft. And to me, these are the two drafts that might even be better than the 2003 legendary NHL Draft. To me, I think they are. Do not at me. And these two drafts to me I think will be the best of the decade, and maybe the best of like this 20-year period perhaps. These are both absolutely stacked drafts that will go down as some of the best in history. But coming in at number 2, I have the 2020 NHL Draft. Obviously the draft has not happened yet, but with the way that top 10 alone is looking, it is looking absolutely nasty. Just Alexei Lafreniere by himself, which could be maybe the best draft prospect since Connor McDavid. Then you have Quinton Byfield, who could become an absolute monster. Tim Stützle, Anton Lundell, Lucas Raymond, Alexander Holtz, Marco Rossi, Cole Perfetti. Tons of different guys that I think will be beasts. You also have Yaroslav Askarov, who's looking like maybe the best draft goalie since Andrei Vasilevsky at the very least, maybe even Carey Price. The defense, although isn't as great as some other drafts, is also very good. Jamie Drysdale is brilliant, Jeremy Poirier is fantastic, and some good other options. Even though it is forward heavy, there is still a lot of great overall talent in this draft, and the forwards will obviously dominate. I think this will be one of the highest scoring drafts of all time, and I think between 2015 and 2020, although 2020 I think will be worse, at the same time both drafts are brilliant, and 2020 is still absolutely fantastic. But with the 2020 draft at number 2, now coming in at number 1, that being the 2015 NHL Draft. And I just had to rep the man, the myth, the legend himself. But the top end of this draft is just simply unfair. Like, it's just insane. Now, the top 5 scoring is just Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Sebastian Aho, and Mikko Ranson. You know, nothing too crazy. Then you go to Matthew Barzal, Kyle Connor, Travis Konechny, Zach Werenski, Brock Besser, Timo Meier, Ivan Provorov, Jake DeBrusk, Thomas Chabot, Anthony Cirelli, Vince Dunn, Colin White. I almost said Colin White. Colin White, Connor Gallen, Rupe Hines. The list goes on and on. And also the goaltending pretty good. Ilya Samsonov and also Mackenzie Blackwood. Not bad whatsoever. And obviously it is more of a forward and defense oriented draft, but that first round was just simply insane in this one. Either way, to me, I think it is maybe, possibly, hear me out, the best draft of all time. I know 2003 is maybe labeled as the best draft of all time, but to me, when you factor in you have Connor McDavid and you have so many other elite talents, to me 2015 just brings so much different star power from Connor McDavid all the way down to Rupe Hines that is just so unfair and it's almost funny at this point. Even though 2014 is good, 2016 is good, and all the other drafts are very solid besides 2012, to me 2015 just hits it out of the park, and just Connor McDavid by himself makes the draft special. But those are my top 10 rankings. Of course, with this video, I need to hear y'all's thoughts down in those comments down below. Let me know what you think about my top 10 ranking, what you agree and disagree with, and also let me know what you think are the best and worst draft classes of the last 10 years. Of course, if you're just stopping by, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Comment down below all your thoughts, and of course, share this video with your friends. Get the word out there about these great and not so great draft classes, and click on this card right here to watch all of my 2020 NHL Draft content. My name is Nathan, and I'll see you guys next video or stream. Goodbye.